welcome back to Let's Play Saga Red Dead. We'll play Red Dead Redemption 2, and we are finally out of the cold. We can actually get on to do some stuff that we want to do, as opposed to what the game makes us do. And that being said, I'm still going to follow the main storyline, but it's kind of nice to be able to free roam for a change and actually do something of my own. So, if I can get out of this encampment, we are going to ride into town and take a look around.
I don't think you should just be wandering around here, friend.
I believe what we have here are a couple of dead men who don't know they're dead yet.
An O'Driscoll saying so. Understand me?
O'Driscoll.
Consider this a warning.
You know what? We're just going to post up, see if they draw down.
Get lost! There's no more warnings.
Done.
Braver men have died here, you idiot! I can smell his spear!
Oh, I gotta get some better guns. Shouldn't have taken that many shots. Not to mention I'm chancing being seen by that guy down the road. But I did let them draw first, so I don't have anything wanted, so we're good, at least as of right now. We'll go ahead and take their stuff, and maybe we can sell that in town.
your problem?
Back in the barn!
And we have made it to the town of Valentine. So for today, I'll talk about Old West towns and why they looked the way they looked. They have that iconic feel and look, and we're looking down that main thoroughfare right now. So what you ended up with Old West towns was you would have a main thoroughfare and you would have businesses and buildings on either side of that main thoroughfare. That was a road.
Give more! Please!
Any other roads that led through or around into the town itself
We're here for each
would have
other.
been smaller, maybe like one-lane roads, but the main road would have been a two-lane road, and you would have
Good morning to
your
you.
houses and stuff around that main thoroughfare, but
It is
not
in
on that
giving
main thoroughfare.
that we receive the true gift of life
Now,
that are eternal.
looking through,
So
if you
give
go down the main
generously,
thoroughfare of any
for that
old
is
west
what
town,
this
you
country
had these
needs
very
to help
iconic
each other.
buildings with the primarily flat fronts and big signs and all of that. And what you ended up with was there were a decent amount of people who came over from places like Chicago and New York and whatnot to try to make their fortune in the West,
Let's
but
try and
these
help
were
each
people
other.
with capital that had money.
It's
They
not
weren't
about survival of the
cowboys, they
fittest.
were businessmen. And let's just talk to this guy.
Hello,
sir.
mister. You get a lot of money doing this?
Not much, but it's the trying that counts.
If you say so.
Well, I do. Who do you help?
I'll help you learn to keep your mouth closed.
Sorry, sir. Please be generous. Be generous.
In either case, what you're looking at here is that
Try
iconic
to
look.
do what
Those
you can.
flat storefronts and boardwalk on either side. So what you had is these people coming in with capital. They had money and whatnot, and they would come in and they would want their businesses to look really nice, but because of material constraints and things of that nature, what they would do is they would build a very, very nice storefront and then basically have a box built onto the back of that, and that's where you built your business on in the backside. Most businesses were literally like this one right here that you're looking at, or this one here, where it had this really interesting front, but nothing so interesting on the backside of it. And this was meant to attract
Yep,
customers and
welcome.
whatnot. You
Well, I
could
use this
paint
space as a blacksmith too.
really
so
big
let me know
signs
if you
on
need me to
it,
grab
and,
something for you from
like,
the catalog.
guns or saloon, doctor, hotel,
Let's
things
look
like
at
that.
here.
And that way, when anyone came into this town, because there were going to be a lot of strangers passing through your town, people going to the west and whatnot, and they would see from a good distance
The sheriff's got
your
that for
business.
himself at one point.
And that's where that iconic look came from. A lot of the times they would build way too close to each other. You might have
You'll see a few people
in
in town
between
with
the
that, too.
buildings a pathway big enough for maybe two people to walk. So not a lot of space between the buildings. They would jam pack as much as they could into a small area. That made it horrible for fires, but it was economical, to say the least. There it is, the Schofield revolver. That's the one we need, and it is locked. I can't even buy it.
The sheriff's gotten that for himself.
I
at
don't
one
have enough
point.
money to buy it right now anyway, but we may be going on a quest to both find and purchase or steal this revolver because I definitely need a better gun.
Yeah, never mind. Worth a shot.
But in either case, you ended up with a lot of these little towns in the middle of nothing that ended up becoming something or just stayed because why not? Deadwood, South Dakota was an excellent example of this. It was a gold town. Gold was discovered there in the hills of South Dakota. And
Mister?
the town built itself. Now, it was built on Indian land, and it was a lawless area for a good long while. You ended up with a lot of people that took the law into their own hands.
Can
You
I
ended
help
up
you?
with
The hell are
sheriffs
you
that
looking at?
felt like they were the law, and however they felt was just how it would be. And a prime example
They'll give
will be
anyone
this
a
man right
badge
here,
these
and I'll
days,
give you
won't
that
they?
example. So
I think we had enough of your crap. Why don't you make tracks?
there we go. All I did was
telling
say
you, this
something
is your
rude to
last
this
warning.
man.
Sorry, my mistake.
And there we go. We end up with, I have a wanted tag on me. He wants
You're gonna
to
come real
arrest
quiet
me.
like
There it
this.
is. He's going to arrest me. You end up with a lot of
Show your
this.
hands.
Say something rude to the sheriff, you end up spending the night in jail. That's what I'm about to do because I ain't fighting this whole town.
Okay, take it easy.
Okay, now. We can take you in rough or smooth. Have a good long think now, huh?
A good long think. So I'm going to end up taking a good long think just because I said something rude to the sheriff. You ended up with a lot of that. People who because they had the tin on them, really felt like they just were God of that little area. Now, that's not to say all the lawmen were that way. A lot of lawmen weren't that way. But you ended up having people impose local law that was, what am I trying to say? Not exactly within the bounds of the law. But there wasn't really anyone to say anything about it. What were you going to do? Who were you going to talk to? You're gonna, go to a higher up? The sheriff was the guy. So if he felt like imposing laws in his area, little tariffs and taxes and all of this stuff on strangers, and there was the other thing, you were passing through. So a decent amount of strangers who ended up spending a night in jail and
I got
paying a
someone
fine,
warming it up for you already. Just head down the corridor there.
who the next morning would just leave because they weren't planning on staying there anyway. So it's a big level of interest about little small towns and stuff in the Old West where the law was a lot more loose than it was in places like Chicago and New York and all of that. Now, that being said, you ended up having bathhouses and things like that too, which here I'm at a hotel and a bathhouse. In the West, prostitution
Can
and
I be
gambling
of any assistance in there?
were a big deal, and in this regard,
Yeah, okay.
like this place
Yeah.
employs a woman to give you a bath.
Sit back
You
and
could buy a
relax,
woman's
honey.
time. She would come in. She would bathe you. It wasn't necessarily full-on prostitution.
Let me know if I'm scrubbing too hard, okay?
And like in this particular scenario, all she does is give you a bath. It's not necessarily prostitution, although I would call it
You let me
prostitution
know
of a
if
sort.
you need anything.
But
all
you ended
right?
up with this. You ended up with actual prostitution. A lot of the saloons employed prostitutes. That's what the second floor was generally used for. If you look at the layout of a
Tough few
saloon
weeks.
from that time, you had the
Really
bottom,
now?
which was literally just a giant room with a bar and a bunch of tables, and then there were stairs that would lead
You
up
must get
to a
some
lot of
bad
small
managing.
rooms. Okay, it wasn't a place you were going to
Yes,
spend the
that's
night
how
or
it is
anything.
around here. Always
But you would
been.
go up there, and there would literally be a room big enough for a bed in it, and you would have a score
How's
of
it going?
prostitutes that worked these rooms.
Fine, thank you.
What you ended up here, like this woman giving the bath, she's giving up some small talk and whatnot, but nothing major. what you would end up with is like the little bit of a wealthier people, man. They would go to these people. They didn't want to
Doesn't that feel good now?
like they were cheating on their wives or anything, but they would get a bath, right? They would get a bath, and they wouldn't be doing anything with her or whatever, right?
nice
She
meeting
would give them
you.
a bath. They would leave. So slightly different than the actual prostitution rings, but it was definitely a different time and a different place than today. And in
It's rough
turn,
country out there. Let me know if you need a
the
place
law
to rest.
was very loose. The morals
Thank you for your help.
in some cases were very loose, and you ended up having like also in these places churches and very, very moral religious people who would look down on this activity, but they didn't really do anything about it. I mean, what could they do about it?
Howdy.
You would
Now look
always
around.
have these people
I
who
have
would
an
just be
assortment
like,
of hunting bait and tools if you
"Oh,
haven't
I'm
noticed.
gonna
Worms and crickets
speak
by the
out
front
against
door,
this in the
and don't miss
street."
the
So you'd
scent blocker
have
by the back
someone
window.
speaking out in against the street, or that man who went to get his bath, he might end up donating money to that man who
Alright,
was
then let's
asking
have a
for
look.
money, just to kind of feel better about himself. He ended up with a good deal of extortion on
Alright.
every angle of the town, and it was quite interesting dichotomy of things that
Ain't nothing
happened
special,
there.
but sure.
Now, one thing I do enjoy about this game is that you are looking at
Can't
fairly
hurt. Someone might
accurate
want it.
prices for some of these things. If you look back to this time frame, this is
Don't
what
really
a lot of
need
this
it,
stuff
but
costs.
why not?
So,
Appreciate it.
I do know that the guns were, at least in the book, they were priced fairly well, at least according to one magazine that you could find back in the time. However, those are brand new guns, and you could buy used guns for a considerable amount less back in the day. In fact,
Been a
actually,
pleasure
as long
doing
as you were
business
willing to
with
do a little bit of work on your revolver, or pay someone to do some work on your revolver, I know that you could get an old Peacemaker
mister.
that was a little clunky and maybe not as reliable as the others, plus a box of bullets for $5. And this is one that was worn down. It might need a pin replaced or spring replaced or something like that, but it would still fire.
Arthur, come here, come over here. I
So
want
that's
you to meet our
interesting as
friends.
well that you
Pleased
see
to meet you.
Well, ain't you just the
these
toughest
prices
teak
back then.
mountain man?
Oh, you be quiet, Anastasia. Anyone can tell this one is a pussy cat.
Exactly. Yes, he's a pussy cat. Ain't that so, Arthur?
Whatever you say. How much you cost anyway?
Well, ain't that a nice way to talk to a lady?
Oh, I didn't know I was talking to a lady.
Excuse me.
Well, I must say, you got a fine way with the women, amigo.
Yeah, regular dandy and a charmer. Where's Bill?
Oh, man. I dread to think about it. Hey! There he is.
Watch where you're going. Take it
Are you about to kiss that guy or punch him?
Oh, and we have our answer.
Here we go. Great deal of fun here. Now, the big fun piece of playing as many games as I do is that I forget the controls for games because, well, every game has a different control scheme. And in this particular scenario, I forgot how to fist fight. So, I am mashing every button on the deal, trying to figure out exactly which buttons do what, and by the end of it, I still never actually figured it out exactly. I'm going to have to look it up for the next time I play, just in case I get into a fist fight. But here in a minute, you're going to see a weird cut, and that is because while I was trying to figure it out, I ended up getting my ass kicked, and no sense to show all that, because that's boring. So hopefully you enjoy this this god-awful fist fight that I fought and barely won after the second attempt. And I need to figure these controls out a lot better than this because, my God, it was rough.
You want some too, huh?
Come on, pretty boy. Pretty boy? You're kidding me. Pretty boy?
And here it is. So, I barely made it through this second attempt at fighting this this big bastard.
Come on, let's see.
But the first time, he just plain kicked my ass. And I can't figure out how to block. I don't know what I'm doing wrong here, but every time I swing at him, he blocks. And every time he swings at me, he hits. So, there it is. See, he blocked me, he hits me, grabs me, whatever. So, I've got to look these controls up. I ended up getting enough hits in on him to win this, but as you can tell, I'm almost about to lose as is. He's just kicking my ass.
Put his face in the mud. What you scared? Huh?
Come on, Arthur, he's a moron!
And here's where it turned around for me. I was able to get him to the ground and he was not able to fight me off. Luckily.
Stop! Stop! Please! Please! I beg you, stop! Come, sir. You won the fight already. Surely that's enough.
What business is it of yours?
No business. No business, sir, but please, I beg you. Sir? Sir, you all right?
Now this is a point of enjoyment in the law.
Making
I
new
went to
friends
jail
again,
earlier
I
for
see,
making a rude
Arthur.
comment to the sheriff.
Look who we
But I just
found
nearly beat a
sniffing
man to
about.
death in the street
Josiah
and don't go to
Trelawney.
jail at
Very
all. No
sad.
law, no wanted tag, no nothing.
I thought you'd gone to New York.
And miss all
A
this
fair
glamour.
fight
You must
was
be
a fair fight, and that's just
No
how it
way.
was.
Well, quite well indeed. I went to Blackwater looking for you gentlemen. You're not very popular there, it seems. Ah, Javier and Charles. I've missed you. And Bill looking as well as can be. Gentlemen, always a pleasure.
You're right. We ain't too popular in Blackwater. We left a lot of money there.
And young Sean, it seems.
Sean, you found him.
Yes, I have. He's being held by some bounty hunters, trying to see how much money the government will pay them. I know he's in Blackwater, but there's talk of them moving.
Well, if we step foot in Blackwater... Well, then we're dead men for sure. There'll be Pinkertons all over the place, but if he's alive, we gotta try. Yeah, of course.
It's you they want, Dutch.
Always is. Charles, go find out what you can, carefully. Josiah, take Javier. Arthur, go get yourself cleaned up. Join them when you're ready.
Well, what about me?
Well, exactly. What about you?
What does that mean?
Oh, Bill, come on.
Alright. Made it through that, now my clothes are all dirty again. That's fun. My horse is filthy. I need a brush for this horse. I know when they're dirty, I don't understand how come I don't have a brush. I guess I gotta buy the kit to take care of the horse. But we're gonna get back to camp and all of that. I'm gonna at least feed my horse and give him a pat and all of that. And at some point, I need to get a kit so I can take better care of him. Because him being dirty, I know it affects his stamina and messes with him as well. So, not to mention, I like horses. It's always good to take care of your horses. But right now, we're both dirty, so we'll be okay for now.
You're all right, boy.
Yep, no brush, I don't think. I don't have to equip it here. I guess I just don't have it. Must have to be something I purchase. Yeah, be my best guess.
Okay, boy.
Alright. We'll put a map marker back to the camp, and we'll ride hard to get down there. And I think I'm going to have to change my jacket. I'll prefer the longer coat. I think it looks good. But I keep getting warm. So probably going to have to change into a jacket. If I can find a longer duster type coat that doesn't overheat me, I might go with it. But for now, we'll just go with a jacket when I get there.
You okay, boy?
We'll have to talk to him in a minute, but right now I need to change clothes and get my hat back. I went back in the saloon to get it and it wasn't there. Alright, let's see what I can find. I guess we're going with this one for now. I may change this when we come back next week. I don't know. All right. Well, let's get my hat at least.
How things?
All right. Well, we'll see you all next week. Hope you enjoyed.